Oh, yeah. That's right.
He had to be.
That's same.
Yes.
Okay, I've got 10 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order.
Lord, thank you for this day you've given us. Thank you for the rain. Be with us, Lord, as we conduct this meeting. Just give us the wisdom to make the right choices. Forgive us what we fail you in Christ. And I pray. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you all for coming. At this time, with any person with business before the court not scheduled on the agenda may speak to the court. No formal action can be taken on these items at this meeting. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. Ms. Eckert.
I want to say thank you, Commissioner Sean McCowan. You're the only one that stood by us and voted to have a lower tax rate. And I appreciate, my brothers appreciate it, and I appreciate it. When it comes time for you to run for reelection, we will be out there, foot soldiers, telling people that you are the only one that stood fast and tried your best to get us a better tax rate. We very much appreciate it. All these budgets are out of control. Some of them are over $1 million. Some are $500,000. That's just a lot of money to ask taxpayers to pay. We have a hard time. This is in a time where we need to cut some of the budget because if not now, when? We're in a financial crisis here. Our food is going up. Our gas is going up. Everything's going up. Taxes, federal taxes are going up. Everything. And it's going to be really hard. It's hard because I come up here every Saturday out here at the courthouse during the farmers market. You are to see the people that come. They're not buying things like they used to because they have to decide, am I going to feed my family? Am I going to have gas? Am I going to pay my rent or my house payment? What comes first? And one of the things that you people can do is lower and help lower the tax rate. And I'm sorry, Sean, that others do not stand with you. I appreciate all your efforts, and so do my brothers. And we will be fighting for you when it comes time for re-election. Thank you.
Ms. Summers?
The state's guidelines gives the authority to the judge to remove anyone from this courtroom. Last week's grandiose act saying you will make a motion to have me removed was nothing more than an act for the captive golf course audience. You did not need to make a motion. As for last week, there was only one commissioner that voted for conservative values. He did the right thing and is now being vilified by the judge and others. I will say this, Commissioner McCowan has more support than anyone that chooses to vilify him. Thank you.
Mr. Mize?
tired of the babble. I can't speak for everyone in the county, but I grow weary of the babble or rhetoric of this court. Before y'all get mad at me, let me explain. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because Yahuwah did there confound the language of all the earth. And from hence did Yahuwah scatter them abroad upon the face of the earth. Genesis 11:9. But let your communication be yes for yes and no for no. Whatsoever is more than these comes of evil. We have heard it said that it's been said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say unto you, that ye resist not evil, but whosoever shall smite you on your right cheek, turn to him also the other. Matthew 5:37 through 39. We've all been spun around several times since 2010. And we ran out of cheeks about then. The only cheeks I have left to expose are for you to kiss and not to strike with repeated insults to our intelligence. Babble and rhetoric are the same thing. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind a used car salesman, but I wouldn't choose one to represent me as a public servant. So let's get down to brass tacks, shall we? If you could put away the political speak, babble, or rhetoric, or whatever new name you might have for it, this court has increased the budget year after year. This court has used the guise of lower tax rates in an attempt to convince their constituents that lower tax rates are a lowered budget. Gentlemen and other members of the court, the bottom line of the budget is still the bottom line. An increase to the budget is still an increase. More is still more. In the vernacular of my grandfather, don't pee down my back, tell me training. I know you have already voted on the tax rate, but I ask you to recall removing $500,000 from the golf course budget, yet revisiting the issue, doing a full reversal the following week. Thank you for your time.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to clear up something about where the kids practice. I cut a kid's hair on the Snyder golf team for 3 years. They practice at WTC. I called Ira, that's where I went to school. She said WTC. I called Hermely. She said we practice at WTC or C-City, not out here. What's her name?
What's your name?
Teresa Sterling.
Okay.
I picked up my nephew several times at the country club.
But is that a formal practice?
Yes, they're all there.
I mean, I know that they have formal practice and informal.
They kind of switch it up.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Just asking.
Okay, court to discuss and consider any precinct project schedule and staff.
Rain was good.
Liz, yes, sir.
Terry got his CDLs yesterday.
Who?
Terry.
Oh, okay. Okay, good deal. Good. Anything else? Okay, the board to consider the resignation of Dan Hartman, Director of the Health Unit. And a copy is within the packet.
Judge, I make a motion that we accept the resignation of Dana Hartman as Director of Health Unit.
Clear.
All in favor? I think we're losing a valuable asset.
That would be correct. Yes, sir.
Court to discuss and consider appointing an interim director of the health unit. So I've given you quite a bit of information here. First one I'm going to point out is the job description that was in our budget books. That lists everything that the director does for the health department. Given you one that shows local health departments, subchapter B at the top, and it explains what services, public health services are for a health department. And we have a health and safety code. Well, that one is we'll get into later when we discuss the infection control officer. I've also given you a two-sided sheet that shows you a lot of the, first at the top, it shows what they've done so far this month at the health department. Patient visits, 102. It's actually more than that. Vaccines, which is immunizations, 228. Pregnancy, is that tests? Pregnancy tests,
Yes.
3. TB tests, 14. STD tests, 6. B12, 2. Some of the STD and all TB have to return. It doesn't account for this patient visit does not account for those return visits. My understanding is that there are about 25 of those return visits. So if you'll look here, these are some of the things that, as the department head, that they need to have. Homeland Security clearance, that's for the government entity telecommunication services. So if all the towers are down, we can still make calls. And there's also the satellite phone. If GETS is down, then Dan and Kyle both have that Homeland Security clearance to use that. FDA, ORA, Office of Regulatory Affairs, it's a certification for inspections of restaurants and any food trucks. Are there any other inspections that fall under that, or is that pretty much it? Do y'all know?
That's probably better.
Okay. And you're currently working under Dana's certification on that. MTRAC, that's the Texas Immunization Registry. Both Cynthia and Jessica are working under Dana's administrative credentials on that, and that would be the immunizations that we talked about, the 228, those have to be reported to the state. TWICES, Texas Department of State Health Services, is reporting to Department of State Health Services for COVID, STD, TB, anything. Those are Dana's administrative credentials. Texas Health and Human Services, reportable conditions, vaccine, truck spills, environmental hazards, rabies, TB, STDs, and immigration. And then you have Epidemic Information Exchange, and I've given a little list of what that does right there. You support any kind of disease outbreaks, novel diseases, outbreaks in unusual populations, potential public health events that could affect multiple jurisdictions. Not only do you report it, but you also get information back from them. So, and a list of some of those outbreaks that were reported to them. On the back, there's a health alert network that's similar to the EPIX, but it's on a smaller scale, is my understanding. Both of those, Dana, data administrator on those. Daily reports from Cogdal Lab and Infection Control, COVID, TB, and that's exclusively local. CDC cooperative agreement for all information for COVID, monkeypox, COVID, and reporting for all of that. Incident command training. Kyle or Dana have both of them have showed up at all of our emergency management meetings that we have, and I believe that the health department is an extremely important aspect of that part, especially when you get down to like on-site sewage facilities where some of those could spill over into the public water supply or into the lakes, or if any kind of situation where that affects there, and any kind of infections that can come from all of those. So ICS training is required training for emergency preparation. And like I said, I think it's important to have a health department in the emergency management team for the emergency preparation. Kyle is the designated rep for Scurry County on the on-site sewage facilities. And we're required to have, by state law, certified pool inspector. Health department does all pool inspections for county-owned facilities, pool, the splash pad, and all hotel and motel pools. And that's actually Dana that does that. So there is quite a bit that the interim and then and that's not exclusive. That's just a list of some of the credentials that need to be had for that position or in that office. At this point, I'll open it up to the public and let any public comment before we get into considerations. No public comment. Okay. Gentlemen, thoughts?
Well, I think you need some of those over there.
I agree.
It's a lot easier for everybody.
I would think that we would ask Kyle to take that position.
Well, did you do the pools too, Kyle?
No.
I did.
You did.
I have spoken to Kyle about this. And I've talked to others there. There are some that do not want the position, and Kyle is willing to accept the position as the interim.
Lomax. Judge, I'd make a motion if it's appropriate this time to appoint Kyle Lomax as our interim health clinic director.
I'll second that.
Do you, at what rate?
And at the rate of what the health director is getting today.
He's still,
It ain't gonna be lower than what he's making now.
no, but it's not much more.
I'll second that motion.
All right, all in favor? Thank you. Kyle, you're gonna do a great job. Appreciate you.
Thank you,
stepping up to
Kyle.
do that. Court to discuss and consider posting job vacancy for Scurry County Health Unit Director's position and timeline for the receipt of application thereof. So the next dates that we have for Commissioners Court are September 6th and the 20th, October 4th, the 18th, November 1st and 15th, December 6th and 20th. So how long do you want to accept applications for that position?
Judge, I think this is gonna be a very difficult, unless Kyle's going to actually fill out an application for that and interview. I think this is gonna be a very difficult position to fulfill, especially in the environment that we have today with people getting out of the workforce rather than getting into it. I think we need to allow at least 4 weeks. So our first meeting in September, in October, I would think.
What day is that?
October 4th. Any other? Yes, ma'am.
We'll think of it.
Can I speak?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Cynthia Sands, and I'm the Chief Deputy Clerk of the Health Department. Being that y'all are gonna be accepting applications, I hope y'all take into consideration that, whoever you decide when you're going into these applications, going through them, it can't just be anybody. Whoever comes in needs to know public health. It's not just something that you can go into, somebody that just wants a title. There's a lot that goes into public health. We've all been working with each other for many, many years. I've been there 9 years. The rest of us have been there 7+, and we all work very well together. Dana did a lot of work, a lot of the research, kept us informed about everything that was going on. She filled in when one of the nurses was out, so it did help that she was a nurse as well. There's a lot that goes into it. And Kyle not just does, vaccines, he's in STDs and rabies. We also get calls from state to take on patients that state's investigating. And they're like, hey, there's this patient that's in y'all's jurisdiction. We need you to take this one on. We may not get a lot of revenue as far as money goes, but we do a lot behind the scenes. There might not be a lot of cars parked in front of in front of the health department, but there's a lot going on behind the scenes. I, for instance, do reporting to the state as well. If somebody gets, hepatitis C, hepatitis B, those reports come from the hospital. We need to do the investigations on that. COVID kicked our butts. That year, all of us were on the verge of a nervous breakdown. We were getting calls 3, 4 in the morning. We were having to go to homes, taking masks, taking gloves, taking this and that. I don't think that we got enough recognition, which is fine. We're okay with being on the sidelines. We don't need all of that praise. But whoever comes in needs to know exactly what they're doing. And I don't know. I'm just, I broke there for a minute, but yeah, they need to be able to know what they're doing, be able to work well with us, not just come in and try and change everything or act like they know anything, because this is a hard job. I know that the health department doesn't, we're out of sight, out of mind. There's some that have opinions about what we do, but haven't even walked in the door to know exactly what we do. And I'm very offended by that. We're all offended by that. So, it's not just giving vaccines or, oh, let me do a pregnancy test or, oh, whatever. There's a lot that goes into it and a lot that we do behind the scenes. Cindy does, TB patients. If it's an active TB patient, there's a lot that goes into it. These people have to come in every day. They have to physically watch these patients take their medications, and it's like a 6-month, thing that they have to deal with these patients. They go through, Dr. Cooper has to, come and see these patients. We do indigent patients. We're there for the community. We're not there for the money. We're there for the community, for the patients that can't afford to go to the hospital. Patients call and, they're like, we can't afford to go to the hospital, even though the hospital has, certain programs, the same program that we have, but they have to get established with a doctor. Well, if they don't have insurance, that's like a $200 doctor visit or something, and we just charge a $10 admin fee for these patients to be able to get the vaccines for their kids. They're single moms, or they just make $2 over what's required to get assistance. So, there's a lot that goes into what we do. And I don't feel that we're valued or recognized enough for what we do. So if y'all could just please keep that in mind, and aside from that, with the applications, for them to know something about public health, because it's not, okay, I'm gonna sit there and take this job and I'm gonna tell, you and you what to do. They need to know what to do as well.
Thank you, Cynthia.
You're welcome.
You've got another.
Yes, sir.
I got kind of a question for them in the health department stuff. Do you also do check on like the radiation levels, like 5G radiation and the effects it has on people?
No, we don't.
No, that would be state.
Certain.
That would be
That
state.
would be state.
Yeah, if there's any kind of exposure like that, state would investigate that.
Okay.
Okay, so October, you agreed with October
Yes.
4th, or?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so what guidelines do you want to set down for that position? Do you want to use the job description?
I would think that would be the place to start.
Judge, I was given two, I asked for the job description yesterday, and I was given two of them, and I don't know which one had been approved through Commissioner's Court.
That one that I brought in is the one that was submitted. Which one do you have?
I had a copy of both of them.
Both of, I have that one. I don't know which
There's
one.
another one I got from Kirsten yesterday. That I believe was, we need to look at both of them, so we need to figure out which one we're gonna go with, because
Right there's the place to get the,
Do you have that one?
I don't have it with me now.
well, you have the one that was adopted.
I'm sure in the minutes,
In the
yes, I don't
minutes,
have
so
it with me
the-
right now.
yeah,
no.
no.
So,
Okay.
I think this one, you guys just.
Yeah, that one. Yes, it goes into more detail.
And I think it will take time to go over it. I think we need to get with Kyle and let him look at both of them. And get his viewpoint of both of them, which one needs to be used.
Actually, I think it was Dana that filled out the job description herself, and probably Kyle Hefner, whenever we agreed upon them, but I have no problem with him looking at both of them and saying yes and no or whatever. And we want to be sure that we get the right person.
This is 6722 with Dana's initials on it. Is this what she, and the other one stated the same day. We did not vote on a job description. This is for Cindy job description for Cindy. Cindy Wright. I know we didn't vote on one recently.
Oh, no, this has been, we had, it's on 22. We
And
had,
this one was
but the
dated
ones that we did do.
on the 19th,
Right.
or 2019.
Oh, yeah. No, that's about what we did. We had each department to actually write down their job description so that we would know in future what to do. Something like this.
So what do you want to do?
Well,
What do you want to do then?
I just think we need to, our mind, we need to get with Kyle and whoever else may be, let all of them kind of look at the job description and see how it falls, so we'll have one instead of having two. So we're gonna run into somebody who's gonna come in here and say, well, that's not in my job description. We just need to have,
That doesn't seem like that's the department head. It does. Health department head food. Okay, there it is. I didn't see the rest of it there. Okay, so you want to table that?
But you'd have to approve the new job description if they change it. So we'd have to put that on the agenda unless you feel like that it's, well, you don't even know yet until Kyle looks it over.
Well, there may be something that's not in there that needs to be.
Could be.
Could be. Absolutely.
So I think it's a good plan, especially if we do that. And they've been doing it for several years, and I'm sure they can find, if it's not in there and it needs to be put in there. Because if it's not in there and we approve it, that's just stick covers everybody, including them.
So if we're gonna do that, we're gonna need to push out the time
Right.
frame, which is gonna need to be at the end of October.
We can wait on that.
Yeah,
So
till we know for sure what we're gonna.
if we sit down with Kyle as a court, it needs to be on an agenda. Are you just suggesting we do that, or are you
I think
suggesting
Kyle can
having?
do that on his own, and then he can bring us, present it to us, which one he, I mean, we don't, none of us are health authority. We can't say this is gonna work or ain't gonna work, but we can have a general, idea of what's in there. So I just think that let Kyle and his group, look into it and see what needs to be changed, if anything.
You okay with that?
Yes, I can fix that. Just let me know when you need it and I'll get you a copy.
So you don't take no action.
Yeah, we'll take no action then. Thank you.
Thanks, Kyle.
All right, court to discuss and consider appointing an infection control officer. You have one in there, it's listed as health and safety code. That one says that if you have an emergency response employee or volunteer, and the definition is there. Means an individual acting in the course and scope of employment or service as a volunteer, as emergency medical service personnel, peace officer, detention officer, county jailer, or a firefighter. You have to have a designated infection control officer and a backup. That's in the health and safety code. Dana has been the infection control officer. I did speak to Kyle about that as well. He was willing to take on that role.
I make a motion that we appoint Kyle Lomax as an infection control officer.
Second. All in favor?
Thanks again, Kyle. Thank you.
All right, court to discuss and consider request from Jason Tyler, EMS Director, to move funds from Texas Class EMS funds into EMS capital lines up to $55,500 for purchase of a new Hamilton T1 ventilator, existing ventilator upgrades, upgraded video, laryngoscopes,
There you go, good job.
and iPads.
I could have said it.
What do you think, Jason? Tell us about it.
Do you want a detailed explanation or an overview?
Overview to start.
Overview.
Commissioners, Court, and Judge, I would like to move money up to $55,500 for the Hamilton T1 ventilator, upgrade to the Hamilton T1 ventilator.
what this does is provide the high flow O2 therapy, COVID patients, as well as the respiratory diseases that we're seeing today respond better with the high flow O2. And so we've seen it in action, we've seen it work. The other one is some iPads, and this will help. We're trying to get our CAD system to work better, as well as head off some HIPAA privacy issues that have come up within the department. And then the video laryngoscope upgrades. We're still not 100%. We're going to pull the trigger on that. We're looking at a couple of different ones based on how many times we actually intubate versus the cost. We more than likely will not purchase that. And in that event, the money would just stay in text class. But we're looking at different upgrades. Our current system that we have for video laryngoscope is over 8 years old. And so the pixels are better. You can take pictures now, you can take videos and upload those to your chart to prove that you actually got the tube in the right spot. So we're just looking at different options and like the freedom to be able to do that. There's the summary.
These iPads, is that what you use for reports?
Yes, sir. The iPads would actually serve quite a bit. It'd help with the CAD system, help solve HIPAA security issues. It also help with billing, taking pictures of insurance cards and stuff, vehicle insurance and stuff like that. And it also comes in with our charting program, which is all online now. And so to be able to do this would, again, would solve a lot of HIPAA issues with things that we're going to have to do differently if we don't transition to a different type of source. The other thing is we're looking for an app called Pulsera that we're going to work with the hospital on. The state of Texas is actually paying for the app. It'll be free to hospitals and ambulance services and allow us to video right into the ER and give alerts through that, trauma alerts, stroke alerts and stuff straight into the ER, and then be able to tie into our system. So we're still trying to get that set up with the ER as well as us. And so these iPads would ease in that transition. So we're also doing a lot of apps, different apps, protocol apps, logging apps through our personal devices, which is not a good thing. And so we're trying to get away from using our personal devices for government code and basically use iPads, issued iPads through the county to do that. So that's the reasoning. Any other questions?
Jason's always done what needed to be done. The citizens in Scurry County. So I'd make a motion, we allow him to do Heath, because I can't pronounce half that that's in there.
Second.
All in favor? All right. Court to discuss and consider rescinding the burn ban. How are you, Nathan?
Great. Loving the rain. Fantastic.
So I checked mine, 3.5 inches last week.
Right.
2.5 yesterday, day before, 1.5 inch last night.
Week's
I'm
not
not
over.
great at math, but it seems like over 6 inches to
Yeah.
me.
The week's not over either. There's still got rain chances through the
Yeah.
week, so. I know our phone has been on fire.
Yeah.
People angry because it hadn't been lifted, so. We feel like it can be. It's greening up some. Just be aware if it stops raining, you know, we may have to put it back in a few weeks, but now I think we're good.
What does the state show us?
Our drought index has gone down. We're not in there's a extreme and then there's exceptional, and we're still right at the bottom of the extreme. But it's still raining and stuff, so I think we're good.
So we can come out.
Yeah, the wind's not too high and stuff, so I think we'll be fine.
Okay.
But if that changes, I'll definitely get it on you.
All right. Thank you.
I think we'll all make that motion.
Yep.
We'll all second it.
All right, so we need an official.
I need one.
I'll make the motion that we rescind the burn ban.
Are you gonna redo the prescribed burn part of that? Remember you talked about taking that out?
We're just gonna rescind the burn ban.
Okay. Yeah, that's next time. I'm just saying.
Oh, next time. I
Remember.
don't know.
Okay.
We agreed that we wouldn't take it out last time.
Right.
because of what was going on. So,
Cause I had people asking questions about that part, so.
Okay.
happy or not happy?
Both.
Jerry made the motion, Jeff the second, all in favor. Alright. We have rescinded the burn ban.
Phew, I got it.
Second. All in favor? Alright, thank you all. Appreciate it. Don't run off, we need you to sign the rescinded burn ban.
Sure.
Enjoy it.
You want all that?
Always a pleasure, maybe.
Anybody called and wants to know if it's lifted and called those? I'm the only one with the phone number.
Pretty awful folks like